Welcome to this video about content and malware settings. We're going to rattle through quite a lot of content here. I'm going to use some slides and I'm going to use a demo after that, okay? So let's just recap. The flash start approach is to utilize DNS technology. We look at what the router is doing, look at the DNS settings, and then use the intelligence in the flash start cloud with your customized settings to ensure safe web surfing. That's the idea. It's a low-cost economic approach. What you create with flash start is a secure network, and that includes the laptops, tablets, and any device that's using the Wi-Fi, including bring your own device because there's no software to install, and mobile phones as well, and applications on the mobile phones. Now, there are basically three distinct areas that need to be considered in discussions with a customer as to what they want to block and what they want to keep. So we're going to look at this as follows. Okay, so in the defense against website attacks, topics like ransomware, phishing, application attacks can all be blocked when they're delivered as a threat from a website. And in terms of filtering content, we can remove unwanted things, which we generally refer to include addiction, distraction, and adult-themed content, special things for sensitive users, and then regulatory considerations. And last but by no means least, attention to the end users' privacy requirements. So let's just take these one by one, and I'll go through these quite quickly. Malware protection. So flash start does not address every form of malware protection. It needs to be used as a component of an IT strategy. The flash start tool is very good at blocking infected web pages, and about 1 in 100 is infected on the internet. That's 70 million pages. So download infections, drive-by infections where you don't actually go to the site, but you see an image created and the image is actually injecting something into your computer. You're protected from that. The feed itself that allows us to do this is dynamically updated, and in the process of trialing with your customer or running it as a deployed solution, you get access to excellent insights into what malware is being blocked, and it's very important to use that as you engage with the customer to help them see the benefits they're getting from this. Okay, so malware protection, bit of a no-brainer. Everybody should have it, but not everyone starts by thinking about it. Many people start here by distractions in the workplace, whether it be through things like gambling addiction, distractions through social media, adult content, especially in public places. Let's just look at some statistics. So very recent data, and you can see the references here. 70% of all workers are being distracted by the internet in the workplace. A huge 36% of millennials and Generation Z, so that's pretty much everyone under 24, is losing 2 hours a day of productivity. 16% of all workers generally are getting significantly distracted. And then there's a particular class down here of people who are clinically addicted to the internet. You can read more about that here in reference to. That's a special case. The data there comes out the US, but clearly we have addiction problems with the internet. The possibility to control the access to the internet is something that is increasingly important. And businesses don't tend to realize they can do this effectively. But let's look at a case study. Lovett's estate agents in the UK who came to us with a problem of a lot of distraction caused by Facebook, and they wanted to help their employees to manage that more effectively, to take temptation away. So the filtering was applied on the local area network, which was done in a way so that employees could access Facebook before work, at lunchtimes, and after work. Now, one of the points that needs to be brought out is that Of course, pretty much everyone in the office these days has a mobile phone. They can browse onto 4G and they can read Facebook from that, not using the internet. But the thing is, it's a lot less discreet in the workplace. So it's not like having 2 or 3 windows open where you can flick between your work and other things. It's very effective. This is a proven technique for reducing distractions in the workplace. Okay, so let's look at porn next. 28.5 billion visits to Pornhub in 2018. That's 4 visits for every man, woman and child on the planet. It's a huge problem. We all know it very intuitively. Some data here from a recent survey of 1,000 users of public Wi-Fi, 80% saying, let's block out porn. It's just not appropriate. It makes sense. So we can do that effectively and cheaply. And the last point here, bandwidth hoggers wreck SLA. Let me rephrase that another way. This is about people who are watching high definition videos, streaming them, and it's taking up all the available Wi-Fi capacity and damaging the available quality of service for other people. That needs to be addressed, and that can be done with Flash Start and the native router. Okay, so important things to discuss with the customer, the end user, in terms of establishing their requirements. Next case, and this is a little bit more subtle, heuristic filters and the idea of sensitive users. So what's a sensitive user? This is a community that's vulnerable, like school children, or a community, groups of people especially that are more at risk in the payroll department, in the accounting department, in financial departments, in legal, where there's personal data being held. Now, the idea here, and the benefit here, the possibility here, is to use a more aggressive form of filtering that will have a lower threshold to identify dangerous sites, providing better protection for these types of users. But the downside is there will be some false positives, some websites identified in error. Now, these types of communities are tend to be fine with accepting false positives. So, get on and select these kind of filters as you set up the Flash Start tool for these types of users. Regulatory requirements. So this is very specific. Typically there are legal requirements to block illegal types of stuff like paedophilia and of course pornography and gambling in many countries as well. If you don't block these, many owners of the network can be held legally responsible for what's actually been browsed on the network. In addition to that, in France right now, or in fact across the whole EU, there's a directive for storing the browsing information of users. And within France, there's some very hefty penalties of failure to comply with that. $330,000 and 5 years in jail are the maximum sentences. So we've got a lot of experience doing this. In short, where there's a specific heightened requirement for blocking for regulatory and high penalty requirements, we onboard new customers in a particular way to pay special attention to the local threats from a particular content category, and we tune and optimize the whole process around that. And that works well. So please talk to us about that if it's a requirement. The underlying feed we use is taken from multiple sources. It's gathered from globally distributed detectors and honeypots. We create malware signatures, which is typically about 350,000 floating malware sites. Varies as sites are infected and then become uninfected. We use a combination of automatic and manual inspection. We use specialist companies who are highly focused upon malware feeds especially, and we participate in the appropriate professional bodies. We currently classify about 85 system blacklists, so standard categories you can choose, and that's about 50 million categorized domains. The feed is distributed and updated automatically. And not forgetting, finally, that the goal of Flash Start is to let the end user choose the way they want this set up, to run it internally within their business, or take it as a managed service from a reseller, or some kind of hybrid service where the reseller is administering most of the features, but the end user can change, say, filter settings. Buying it as an ISP service is a very common delivery model, depending on the country. And for very large requirements, deploying a FlashStart instance locally to have that on site. Let's take a look at the FlashStart filter. So here we are on the main FlashStart dashboard. And we can see at the top the companies that I might have I'm running services with. Drop-down menu shows those range of companies. But across all these companies, I can run the same filters. So I've got one here open called Operations. I have a number of other ones here: Headquarters, Wi-Fi, Management Team, Public Access Point. Let's just stay with Operations. So I'm going to click on the List tab, and it immediately opens into the Categories list. And under each of these, we have the specific individual filtering lists, which we can enable or disable at the click of a radio button, and enable and disable the entire content category list at the click of one button. You'll also see the heuristic filter options, both for content and for malware. And also important to highlight is scheduling of blocks of access. So this is scheduling a block for social network. Let me click on that and show you. We can see in red when social networks are not available between 8 and 1 o'clock, and this simple calendaring and time of day is used to be able to schedule availability and unavailability for access to content categories. Note down at the bottom we have the ability to set personal whitelists and blacklists, and at the very bottom we have the safe search engine protection, and you can enable and disable Google and Bing at the click of this button here. That's a very nice feature actually for taking advantage of the categorization made by Google and Microsoft on individual page level content. I'm going to come out of lists now and we'll go to geo-blocking quickly, and here you will see the regions of the world. Same kind of approach. If I click on Asia, you will see all the countries listed, and I can allow access and deny access at the touch of a button. Exactly the same. So that's a quick run through the content and malware filtering settings, some thoughts there to share with you, and hopefully some information to take and discuss with your customer to make sure they're benefiting from the broad range of capabilities available in FlashStart.